Hello, I'm Matthew McKinnon, and recently our church invited the Christian charity Street Connect to give a report of their work amongst the homeless and those sleeping rough on the streets of Glasgow. Leading the team that night was their women's support worker, Julie McAddock. And not only was I greatly impressed with the life-saving work that this charity is doing, but I was also very impressed by Julie's personal story. So I invited her to take part in this series of extraordinary stories from ordinary people. I'm sure you'll be astounded as she tells about her own encounter with God and how that completely turned her life around. Julie, thanks for coming today, and we very much look forward to listening to you as you share your story.
Hi, my name's Julie. I'm 33, about to be 34 years old this year, and I'm going to share my story about what God has done in my life. I grew up in a town called Erskine, which is just outside Glasgow. I grew up with my mum and dad, brothers, sisters. My mum and dad worked hard and tried to do their best to bring us up. But at the age of 12, as what happens to a lot of people, I started going off the rails. I remember two things happened. My little sister was born and my gran died, and they were two significant things. They obviously affected my mum, and so she was grieving, and in turn that affected me as well, because I was looking to my mum and she was going through those things which at that age I didn't understand. And that wasn't the only thing that made me go off the rails. I would have probably went off the rails anyway, but that was one thing what I can remember affected me. And I remember just starting to experiment with smoking, drinking. And quickly I really liked alcohol, and then so I would drink quite a lot, and I would do things and make mistakes and just do things what I regretted, and then I would wake up sober. If I remembered what I'd done, I would want to drink so that I could forget again. At the age of 15, I got expelled from school, and then at 15, I also found out I was pregnant with my daughter Zoe. I had my daughter, and I sobered up and stopped smoking, but it didn't take long before I started drinking again. Soon after, I found out I was pregnant again at the age of 17 with my son Mark, and I tried to clean up my life again, but it never really worked that well. I went to college thinking I could try hard and make something of myself, but I had a party one night. Everybody came and we were all drinking. Everybody left as they do after a party. One guy stayed behind, and that night I tried heroin for the first time in my life. That's when things got really bad. My children got put in care. I lost all respect for myself. I was injecting heroin, and I contracted hepatitis C, and my life was basically not worth living. I did get clean again and got my children back for 1 year, but then I relapsed even worse than before. And this time my family, my mum and dad, took my kids. At that point in my life, I remember really crying out to God. I always knew there was a God, but that's all I knew, that there was a God, but I didn't know much else about him. And I prayed, God, if you help me, I promise I'll follow you all the days of my life. There was something different about that prayer. I'd prayed prayers before to get myself out of trouble, and God, I don't know, maybe He must have answered in some ways because I'm still here, but they were selfish prayers, just wanting to get something or get out of trouble, and as soon as that happened I would forget about God. But this time something dropped into my head, and it was the name of an outreach worker who had helped other people get into a place called Teen Challenge, and her name was June Ross. I went and met up with June. She told me more about Teen Challenge. I went to the outreach cafe. I heard testimonies of how people's life had been transformed, but one night I heard the testimony of a man who was in bondage of sin. And when I heard that, I was like, that's what's wrong with me. I'm not an addict, I'm not a smoker, I'm not all these labels, but that's what's wrong with me. I'm bound by sin. I got prayed for that night, and not long after I went into Hope House Teen Challenge. That's where I really met with God, That's where I read the Bible, I prayed, and I asked God's forgiveness for the things what I had done wrong in my life. And when I felt God's forgiveness, and when I knew He was real because I had met with Him, then I was able to build for myself a different type of life from what I had before. And that was what my foundation is on, God. That's the rock I stand on, and I stand firm on that, and that has proven through time now. This is me going to be clean now for, this is 8 years. I have my 2 children back who are now coming up for 18 and 16 this year, and they're both on exam leave at the moment. I have my husband Ricky, who also did Teen Challenge. We got married, and I've both put our lives and our trust in God. Through that, Ricky wanted, part of his thing in life, he wanted 2 children, and we have now got little Ross and Gemma as well. So we have the 4 kids in the house, and we also have a Jack Russell called Victor. And things can be hard and things come against us, but we always believe in the power of God to help us to break through every single problem. We both started an outreach called Street Connect, which is based in the city centre of Glasgow. I'm just going to tell you a bit about Street Connect, which is a charity that myself and my husband helped set up, also with Pastor Peter Vincent. It's based in the city centre in Glasgow City Church. We have a Saturday night outreach, which is how it began, where we just serve soup, sandwiches, and just speak to people where they're at. We do street work, going out, sharing the gospel, telling people that they can come, and also sharing our stories of hope with them. We run a recovery group during the week in partnership with Bethany Christian Trust, and we've also just bought our first move-on flat for guys who are coming out of rehab. The other thing in the future, what we would like to do is have supported accommodation. That's the future vision, and we know that's going to be a tough one, so we're not going into that lightly. We're also in partnership with a place called Keys Community Detox, which is training us up so that we can give medication and things, but that will be all at the right time. If Street Connect is something that you would like to maybe help with or find out more about, the details will follow. And also here is a song that really means a lot to me. It is called Jesus, All for Jesus. So I hope you enjoy listening to it. Bye.
Jesus, all for Jesus, all I am and have, and ever hope to be. Jesus.